Okay, let's talk about a piece of technology that so many retailers have, but honestly, very few get right. I'm talking about product recommendations. Done poorly, it's just this widget that takes up space, but when you do it right, it becomes a core piece of your revenue infrastructure. So today, we're going to go deep. We're going to break down how the top AI recommendation engines actually work, and way more importantly, how you can use them to see some serious growth in your own store.
Just look at this number for a second. 35%. This isn't just because Amazon is massive. It's because they have absolutely mastered personalization. While they're pulling in over a third of their sales this way, most retailers are stuck with these static bestsellers lists. Now think about what that means. You're showing every single customer the exact same 6 products, no matter who they are or what they're looking for. That's not personalization. That's a huge, huge missed opportunity. You're just leaving so much revenue on the table. And look, this isn't some hypothetical pie-in-the-sky number. This is real. This is the conversion lift a $4.2 million merchant saw in just 90 days. So how'd they do it? It's pretty simple, actually. They swapped out their old static bestsellers list for a true AI recommendation engine. They didn't have to jack up their ad spend. There was no magical flood of new traffic. It was the same traffic, the same inventory, but it led to a 33% lift in conversions and a 28% lift in average order value. That right there is the power of real personalization. So what's the secret sauce here, right? What are these top-performing retailers actually doing that's so different? Well, I can tell you what they're not doing. They are not just plugging in another widget and calling it a day. Nope. They're deploying a really sophisticated, multi-layered system that thinks, that learns, and that adapts in real time. And in this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how that system works so you can really understand the tech and make way smarter decisions for your own business. You see, the secret isn't some single magic algorithm that does everything. It's actually a combination of 3 core algorithmic layers. Each one has its own specific job, and they all work together kind of like a well-oiled machine. And when you combine them, they create this powerful dynamic personalization experience that adapts in real time to every single shopper on your site. So let's break them down one by one. Now, here's the most important thing to get about this slide. These are not 3 separate options you just pick from, like you're ordering off a menu. A truly modern engine combines all 3 of these into one intelligent system. The best way to think about it is like a high-performing team. Each layer has its own unique strengths. It solves a very specific problem, and crucially, it covers for the weaknesses of the others. It's that powerful combination that makes the whole thing work so well. First up, we've got collaborative filtering. This is the classic people like you also bought model, and it's probably the one you're most familiar with. It's been the backbone of these systems forever, and for good reason. It's incredibly powerful. You see, it doesn't need to know anything about the products themselves. No tags, no categories, nothing. It just looks at the raw purchase history. So for example, if it sees that customers who buy a tent also tend to buy a sleeping bag, it learns that connection. And the next time someone adds a tent to their cart, boom, it automatically recommends the sleeping bag. It's just fantastic for finding those unexpected cross-sells. But here's the catch. Collaborative filtering has one major weakness, something we call the cold start problem. So what happens when you launch a brand new, amazing product? Well, it has 0 sales history. So to this model, it's completely invisible. The system has absolutely no data to work with, so it simply cannot recommend it. And that's a huge issue for any store that's regularly adding new inventory. This is where our next layer comes in to fix things. And that brings us to content-based filtering. This is a perfect example of how these layers really complement each other. This method directly solves that cold start problem because it doesn't need purchase history at all. Instead, it just looks at the product's attributes, its category, its color, brand, price, all those descriptive tags. So that brand new product you just launched, it can be recommended from day one, just because the system knows it's a blue, size medium, cotton t-shirt, just like other popular shirts you already have in your store. So problem solved, right? Well, not quite. While content-based filtering is absolutely essential for new products, its recommendations can be a little uninspired. If you're looking at a blue shirt, it might just show you more blue shirts. It just lacks that spark of discovery. But here's the bigger question. What about a brand new visitor to your site? They have no purchase history, so collaborative filtering is out. And if they haven't viewed any products yet, content-based filtering has nothing to work with. So how do you personalize the experience for them? This is where deep learning and intent signals come in. And honestly, this is the layer that truly separates modern AI systems from all the older legacy tools. This layer is all about the right now.
It analyzes what a visitor is doing in this very session. Are they scrolling really fast past the cheaper items, but then they linger on the premium ones? Do they just search for running shoes for wide feet? Do they hover over a specific brand for like 10 seconds? The system picks up on hundreds of these real-time signals to predict their intent, and then adapts its recommendations on the fly, even for a visitor who has never been to your site before. This is what true one-to-one personalization looks like.
Okay, so now we get it. We understand the three-layer engine that powers modern recommendations. But understanding the tech is only half the battle. For you operators out there, the real question is, where do you actually put this engine to work to make the most money? The answer? Well, it might just surprise you. When I say product recommendations, where's the first place you think of putting them? Go on, think about it. For most people, it's that big carousel on the homepage, right? It's splashy, it's the first thing you see, it looks great in presentations. But as we're about to see, the actual data tells a very, very different and much more profitable story. And here's that story right here in the data. Over half, let me repeat that, over half of all revenue generated by recommendations comes from just two places, the product detail page and the cart or checkout process. And why is that? It's because that's where customer intent is at its absolute peak. They are deep in the buying journey, they're actively considering a purchase, and that prime real estate on the homepage, it accounts for just 15% of the revenue. So the strategic takeaway here is incredibly clear. Don't start with the front door of your store. You have to follow the money. You focus your efforts where the intent is highest. That means you start your personalization journey on your product pages and your cart pages. Once that's all dialed in, then you can expand to post-purchase emails to bring people back. The homepage, believe it or not, should be one of the last places you worry about optimizing. And listen, the performance gap between doing this the right way versus just having a basic widget, it's massive. A McKinsey benchmark shows that typical basic personalization might get you a respectable 5 to 15% revenue lift. And that's no bad. But the top performers, the ones who correctly implement a modern multi-layered AI system in these high-intent spots, they're seeing a 25 to 38% lift. They are playing a completely different game. This huge performance gap brings us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. When you're out there looking at different solutions, how do you make sure you're choosing a true AI system and not just some basic rule-based tool that's been dressed up with a bunch of fancy marketing buzzwords? Let's put some hard numbers to that question. The difference between a simple, static, rule-based system, like that bestsellers list we've been talking about, and a truly dynamic AI engine, it's not a small upgrade. We're talking about a 4 times performance gap. Look, an 8% conversion lift is a nice little tweak, but a 32% lift? That's a major growth driver for your entire business. The choice you make here has real, significant financial consequences. So to make sure you end up on the right side of that performance gap, here is your actionable vendor checklist. And I'm serious, take a screenshot of this. The next time you're on a demo call, ask them these 4 questions directly. Number 1, does your system solve the cold start problem for our new products? Number 2, do you use real-time intent signals for first-time visitors? 3, do you combine all 3 of the algorithmic approaches we just talked about? And 4, does your strategy team recommend that we start deployment on product and cart pages first? If they can't give you a clear, confident yes to all 4 of those, you are likely looking at a legacy system that is going to leave a lot of money on the table. Let's just end on this one critical point because it's really the core takeaway of this whole breakdown. Recommendation engines are not just another widget you add to your theme. They are revenue infrastructure. This isn't about a one-time feature. It's about building a core intelligent piece of your business that learns from every single visitor and actually compounds in value over time, turning the traffic you already have into a constantly improving, self-optimizing revenue machine. If you get this right, it will absolutely change the trajectory of your business.